And we're live. Welcome back to the LOOPcast. It's Tom, Erika, and Essential Employee Tom. DC Insider, Tinfoil Tom. He's known by many names. Today, he's Essential Employee Tom. Thank you for taking the time to join the show.
Be here. Glad I wasn't furloughed.
So, of course, the LOOPcast brought to you by The Loop. If you're not in, sign up. It's time. We have a great show for you today. I'm actually really excited to hear what's going on the inside, Tom. Get some really some tidbits, some notes, what you think about the memes, maybe what's going on in the White House, why no one is working, and traffic maybe is a little bit lighter. The second one, we had a pretty surprising announcement from the FDA that everyone was talking about last night on our internal Slack, and I'm looking for some more context from Erika on what's going on there. And then we have good news. We have Twilight Zone. We might even get into a little bit of the Gaza peace plan. A lot of those timelines are going to start coming up. And we're going to share our thoughts, but going to be a great Friday show. We're going to keep it a little bit tight today. We've got a little bit of a timeline. So Erika, if you can get into why we can do the show today.
Yes, so many thanks to our first sponsor, Nazareth Organics. It is challenging to foster healthy and radiant skin in a world full of synthetic chemicals and toxins. Wouldn't it be nice to find nourishing ingredients in God's own creation, sourcing their ingredients from Israel to Italy to the ancient Zechstein seabed? Nazareth Organics handcrafts facial moisturizers, sunscreens, diaper creams, and more, using pure and natural ingredients. If you're wondering why Tom McClusky looks a little pale and ashen today, it's because he did not use his Nazareth Organics this morning. Many of their balms are tallow-based, coming from a local Catholic farm. Rich in fat-soluble vitamins and fatty acids that strengthen the skin, tallow has been used for centuries. One of their many bestsellers is a magnesium tallow blend that relaxes muscles for peaceful sleep. Tom could also use some of that. Many toddlers in his house. Yeah. Safe for pregnancy and children. It makes for an awesome sleep aid for the whole family. The best part of this business, though, is that it is dedicated to the Holy Family of Nazareth, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. From website to packaging, every sustainably sourced product points back to the faith and the ultimate source of creation. Visit nazareth-organics.com and use code LOOPcast for a 10% discount at checkout. Don't let dry and irritated skin keep you from finding peace. That's nazareth-organics.com, code LOOPcast.
Listen, we even got my wife taunting me in the chat with my tallow bomb somewhere.
Mrs. Pogo is in the chat.
That's brutal. She's making fun of my skin right now, just using up all that bomb.
She's asking you to actually lather up right this second, I believe.
Who's got more products in your bathroom, you or her?
Yeah, I'll plead the fifth on that one, Tom. I'll plead the fifth. Well, you probably have a couple of brushes and combs in there too, right? You got to keep.
Oh, and the hair gel and trust me, I have a little corner, and then my wife has the rest of the medicine.
Right. I would love to see Tinfoil Tom's vanity mirror set up with the light bulbs, and it's not easy looking that good, Tom. I get it. For sure, man. All right. Well, Tom, hey, speaking of getting ready, a lot of people are not getting ready in D.C. We have the government shutdown clock from the White House. Now I actually have to ask, too, the social media from the White House has been quite active. Is that just love of the game, Tom? Like, are they not getting paid for that? We see Democrats have shut down the government from the White House account. They're making it pretty clear who they think is to blame here. And if you scroll through, it's just all blue states. So let's start first, Tom. What's the real story here on why the government shut down from your perspective? And we can go into a little bit of the memes after, but what's the real story?
I mean, you have to go way back to that. Congress is just basically ineffective and has been for decades. They haven't passed bills in regular order since I think 1997, which I'm pretty sure is before you were born.
Pretty close.
Not me.
Yeah. But of course, because you were born like 10 years after that.
Right.
But more recently, they missed a deadline. These deadlines come up every year. So the Republicans, with some Democrats, passed what is called a clean CR. And this most times when a politician tells you this is a clean continuing resolution, meaning we're taking all the money that we had before and we're just pushing it forward. Most of the time when they say that, they're lying. They're always attaching things to it. This one is actually a clean CR, one that was passed during Joe Biden's time, and one that Chuck Schumer voted for this past spring. but now the Democrats, mainly I think is Chuck Schumer, it's purely politics. That the Democrats, just as sometimes conservatives would complain about Republicans, like we want to see you at least fight. The Democrats want to see the Democrats fight, except if this is them fighting, I mean, we might as well start playing taps now for the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
If
that's
you
just
can't,
not
if
going
you're
well.
in politics and you can't,
Oh, it's
you
hot
can't
Props!
dog.
know that you're going to be part of a meme at some point, I mean, you just don't have the maracas to be in politics.
All right, I gotta ask while you wear the hat. I don't understand. How did that start? The sombrero meme. How'd that start?
I think it might have started back when he was doing stuff on the border, President Trump, and he was like stuff like that. I mean, if you go even way back, wasn't it Cinco de Mayo, and he was in his
Oh,
office in New York
one of my
City
favorite pictures of all
Eating his
time.
and
Yeah.
taco. Yeah.
loving Taco Bell. Like,
Yep.
thank
Right.
you, Taco Bell.
hmm
So is it offensive? Yeah, but is it funny? Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, and then I have to ask Tom too because you spent time in the last episode, and there's kind of been some clips that have came out since. The sticking point of it being over healthcare. The left and the right have now kind of spun out there. Yes, this is over giving healthcare to illegal immigrants. The right has now said, no, it is not. Or no, the right said it is. The left said it's not. Add me some clarity. Is there actually truth to that claim? Is this what it was shut down over?
Um, they're both right if that's possible. And I want to give a shout out to not only CatholicVote, but Susan B. Anthony, Pro Life America, and this new group out there, Epic, Paragon Health, who were arguing for months that these subsidies, COVID subsidies that are set to end at the end of this year, are going to be a major problem because they're full of fraud and abuse. They pay for abortions, pay for trans surgeries. However, your prices are going to go up if these subsidies are taken out, and that's all. Republicans worry about getting reelected, so everybody knew this was going to be a major problem, possibly an embarrassment for Republicans. I would have conversations with Republican leadership, people I trust, and they're like, "Oh no, it's not going to be a problem." I was in a meeting last week where it started with leadership staff saying, "Oh, this isn't going to be a problem," and then 45 minutes of the meeting was about these
It's about the
subsidies.
non-problem, right?
Right.
'Cause
So it is about healthcare. The Democrats, I will concede one point is one reason why they're saying we need to do it now is because while the insurance rates won't go up till January, they go out like mid-November.
right.
But that still gives us time. If they were to sign the current CR right now, that still gives them time to try to negotiate something. I don't I don't think it's something that should be negotiated, but I most of the Republican offices I talk to, they tell me this is not going to be renewed. It shouldn't be renewed. It's horrible. It's horrible. Oh, by the way, it is going to be renewed.
Yeah.
Um,
I think like, for me, it drives me nuts that the insurance premium, the rates going up so drastically. And I've seen a couple of projections. Like this one woman on Twitter, she is paying $325 premium right now. And she did the calculation. She's looking at like $826 come January. That's something that could like just totally bankrupt families, right? So it is a huge issue that these subsidies are running out. What drives me absolutely bonkers is that the Republicans would take any of the responsibility for this when this is really just Obamacare coming home to roost, right? We knew Obamacare would do this. It started to prices did go up. You can see all the graphs online. Everyone's reporting it. New York Times, CNN, you look at the graph, it is like a straight line up the hill since Obamacare was passed as far as premiums go for people. And the solution was, let's just keep throwing subsidies at it to make the prices come down artificially so people feel like it's not that bad. And now that the COVID subsidies are set to expire, like they're left holding the bag, and something's going to break at some point.
and Erika brings up a great point because when Obamacare first passed, it was passed with no Republican votes, all Democrats. And when these COVID subsidies were passed during COVID, again, it was passed all by Democrats, no
Yeah.
Republicans joining in. Except now it's going to be the Republic, and that's just how
It's the party
I
in
think.
power, right? Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It's they're Democrats are probably very happy, and I don't want to make them sound callous or cruel, but they probably are looking forward to these things expiring, because then that'll put them back in power.
So where do we even begin here? If I could just crystallize what's going on. Obamacare was this promise that we're all going to get affordable. You can keep your provider, et cetera, et cetera. All it did was balloon rates, because anytime you get the government involved, things get more expensive.
Mhm.
And then in order to prevent it from ballooning further, we voted on subsidies. Democrats voted on subsidies to give people more money to bring down the cost, and then, which of course inflates our dollar. And then now it's going to be more expensive, and the subsidy will be gone, and now it's going to be unbearably expensive. So I don't even know at this point what's the solution. Just some type of radical reform to how we handle insurance? Is there even, because now it's become a political football where it's like it's not even about getting to the heart of said issue. Is there even a
Right.
way to get to the heart of this issue? Like, it's obviously affects everyone now at this point.
Well, these subsidies pay for abortions and also pay for trans surgeries.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a solution to that the Democrats would go along with. A solution to the subsidies themselves, currently, like if you're making $300,000 a year, you're eligible for these subsidies. And that's probably not fair.
Right.
So trying to balance it out and trying to wean people off of these subsidies might be the route to go.
Well, it seems
Sorry, real quick, a clarification point. If you have not private, but if you have group insurance through your employer, say you make $300K a year, this wouldn't even affect you anyway. This is all for people that get it through the healthcare marketplace and Obamacare.
I believe so, except I do think the market plays off of each other. So
Okay.
it
So it would
affect
in some
others.
ways, even if indirectly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and it seems like another measure that we could take that would make a lot of sense would be to scrub the scrub the system, right? And to find people who are, not eligible, who are still drawing down on the Medicare, Medicaid, to find people who aren't American citizens who shouldn't be drawing from this, to find, fraud, people who are dead who are still on it, right? Because we know that the system is rife with duplicates and all this, and that the Biden administration, actually, my understanding is they removed some of the ways that we could actually make sure the money is going to Americans who need it most, if that's accurate. And that's part of this argument that, okay, the Democrats want to shut down the government so they can keep sending money, healthcare, to illegal immigrants. And they just don't want to clean it up.
And it's funny how Democrats, many in the media, are saying, "Oh, that's not true." Yet, if you go to the legislation that they keep on voting on, except for
Right.
3 courageous Democrats, it has a specific section that repeals a part of the big beautiful bill that stopped illegals from getting health. So if it's not happening,
Yeah.
why are you repealing people stopping it?
Well, and Ro kind of let the cat out of the bag on CNN the other day, because he's being interviewed, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, that's a total lie. We aren't sending money to illegal immigrants. I mean, at least 90% of the money is being given to Americans only, and the rest." And you're like, "Wait, but that leaves 10% of the money going to non-Americans." And yeah, and then he apparently got a dressing down from his party for.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
this is
saying
this is incredibly
out loud.
frustrating, because I mean, there's so much frustration over this mess that we have in terms of healthcare in America. So I think you can do two things at the same time. You can make sure that it only goes to people that. All right, there's
Tom left.
my removal on my back. It happens
There you
one
go.
time an
Always
episode.
good to have
and-
a spare Tom.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Tom.
Yes, we have spare Tom this time. We're good with a sombrero.
It's frustrating on multiple levels. Like, you can remove people that shouldn't be getting in the first place and make sure that's fraud proof. That's great. But at the same time, there needs to be some type of larger reform, so that we can't get in a situation where all of a sudden your insurance premium is going to go up $500 and your coverage is subpar. And it's, I don't know, the way that it all interacts is so frustrating. It just feels like, I mean, what's not productive is shutting down the government. It feels like
Yeah.
nothing could get done. It's politically unpopular. It's not helpful to anyone to keep it moving. And I guess just because we have a tight show today, sorry to push it forward a little bit, but I know that, Tom, I don't know if you know Russ Vogt personally. I know now it feels like people are kind of like cracking their knuckles to be like, okay, we can put the screws on. A couple of things I've seen so far is I think Trump is freezing infrastructure money to go to the state of New York. And there's a couple other the firings, mass firings been talked about. So how much truth is there to this Russ Vo, boogeyman? He could do all these things when the government shut down, and that will really bring Democrats to the table. Is that actually true? Or is that just kind of a messaging thing?
I don't think Russ will mind if I say Russ is a friend. And I've known him for years, back in his days when he was at Heritage Action. He can be a scary dude, but he's a scary dude because he's so smart, and he thinks about these things. Um, he's the type of guy, like, when he tells a joke, you're scratching your head like, was that a joke? But he's thought these things out, and that's why he's scary. And a number of us who are friends of his, and like we're when we talk and everything, part of us are just like jealous, because Russ is everything I just said, but he's also a very good guy. He's a good father to his kids. He is not Darth Vader, be it rehabilitated Darth Vader or previous Darth Vader.
And for those who don't know, he's the director of Office of Management and Budget, correct?
Russ is not Darth Vader.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how many nerds listen to the LOOPcast.
Yeah.
But he has thought this out, and if he's going after blue states first, that's politics. I'm not really that concerned about that. Knowing Russ, he looks at why is healthcare so expensive? Why is education so expensive? It's because the federal government has gotten too involved in all of these things,
Yes.
and it drives up prices. And Russ sees that, and Russ really is like the organization he founded and then left to work with Center for Renewing America, and that really describes Russ. Russ is interested in renewing America, making it so that it's fair and balanced for all, and that his kids and his grandkids aren't going to be swimming in debt or be owned by the Chinese.
That sounds fantastic.
Admirable goals. Let's do it.
So do you? Sorry to put you on the prediction block here, but do you think any major actions will come down from Russ during this shutdown, or will it just be posturing?
Russ is not really a posturer. So I do think some major ones. I think everything he does and everything he has done so far will end up in courts. I think he's winning more than he's losing in a lot of these court battles. And a lot of it is going towards the end of the year to something called pocket rescissions, where the president just says, "I'm not going to spend any more on that," and just puts it back into the treasury. I think we will, especially if this goes on even more, we will see some action being taken, because that's what the president and Russ said they would do. So I think we would. What that action is going to be, I would love to know. Russ has a superstar team all around him, and they are they stick by each other, and they know when to say something and when not to.
Okay. Guess we'll have to wait and see.
Right.
On to B block here, Erika. I need some more info. So if you just look at this headline here, shocking. FDA approves new abortion drug, and we got a big smile on the face of Bobby Kennedy here. Looks like does he have a Zin in here too?
I just have to ask, do we have a sponsor for this segment?
Oh yeah.
I believe we do. Yeah.
We do.
We'll get
Thank
into
you.
the Zin possible pouch in RFK's mouth. That's your teaser.
Zin is not the sponsor, just so we're
No. Not thank you, Marcus, for not putting that on our docket. But we do have a really great organization, Home Title Lock. Did you know that American homeowners have over $32 trillion in equity? And criminals are targeting it with a growing scam the FBI calls house stealing. Scammers can transfer your title out of your name using a one-page document they file at the county. Then they can take out loans against it or even sell it behind your back. And the scariest part? You won't find out about it until collection or foreclosure notices start arriving in your mailbox, leaving you with a financial and legal nightmare. Nobody needs that. The best way to protect your equity is with Home Title Lock's exclusive $1 million triple lock protection. This service offers 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if fraud should occur, their U.S.-based restoration team, will spend up $1 million up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title. So, when was the last time you checked on your title, essential employee Tom? I'm asking you. If you were like me before I started doing these ads, the answer is never. And that is exactly what the scammers are counting on. The good news is we have partnered with Home Title Lock to offer you all 60 days for just $1. Click the link in the description below or over in the chat and use our promo code LOOP60 to get 60 days for just $1. And you will also get a free title history report to ensure you're not already a victim. And make sure you check out that $1 million triple lock protection details when you get there. Click the link below or in the chat. Promo code LOOP60. Let's
Excellent.
get into it.
On to FDA Zinn and RFK Jr.
Yeah.
I think this was surprising to a lot of people because it seemed like when he was going to get into office that he would do a review of this, not say authorize a new one. So is there any subtext behind the scenes here? Josh Hawley tweet, "This is shocking. FDA has just approved another chemical abortion drug when the evidence shows chemical abortion drugs are dangerous and even deadly for the mother and, of course, 100% lethal to the child."
Right.
What's going on here, Erika?
Yeah, this is not good at all. And actually, Tom's going to have more insight into this for us. But yes, in fact, we have verified the US FDA has approved a generic version of that abortion drug, mifepristone. It was quietly rubber stamped, according to Daily Signal, by the agency in a letter on Tuesday, with reports only surfacing of its approval yesterday. So we didn't find out about this until yesterday. This was definitely a surprise because we had just had RFK telling us September 19th that the FDA was actually reviewing mifepristone's safety. This following the Ethics and Public Policy Center's crackerjack report on the fact that the FDA they'd approved this drug, saying, "Oh, it's like 1% adverse effects on women," when in fact insurance claims show us that over 10%, close to 11% of women who take this drug end up with some kind of adverse effect. So this was not great. We got a follow-up tweet from RFK himself last night saying that this approval was required by federal law when they showed that the generic form of mifepristone actually is the same as the on-brand mifepristone. I don't know. Tom, are you buying it? What's going on?
I call complete BS on that. The FDA, especially if they're reviewing, because the process for misoprostone dating back to 1999, it was a European drug and being pushed by Hillary Clinton and politicizing the FDA. Not that the FDA isn't a political animal to begin with. So it got proved under the Clintons right before they left office. And throughout the years, during the Obama years, and then unfortunately, even during some of the Bush years and stuff, things got taken away, like adverse reporting. Because it used to be, I mean, with these drugs, it's not just death that we're afraid for the women. It's also internal bleeding and things along those lines that no longer had to be reported.
Right.
And every step of the way it's politicized. There's been an ongoing court case since the year 2000 against the approval of misoprostone. It would have been very easy for the FDA to just say, look, as long as this review is going on, the last thing we want to do is flood the market with generic brand abortion drugs.
Right.
Because this same week also, there were a whole bunch of news reports. I don't know if it's Guttmacher, Planned Parenthood's research buddy or whatever.
It is.
Put out that how what they call clinical abortions, but abortion facility abortion, in-person abortions are going down. But what they don't point out is that about 60 to 70% of abortions nowadays, that's not the full story because about 60 or 70% of the abortion nowadays are done through the mail and through with the abortion pill.
Right.
Putting more women at risk and certainly killing babies and also opening up the door for what we've seen in a number of states now of women ingesting the pill without knowing it because of a boyfriend or husband or something like that sneaking it
Yep.
into their food.
Well, and again, like this double standard for anything related to reproductive medicine, quote unquote, especially abortion and this drug. If there was any other drug on the market that we had, verifiable evidence from insurance companies and hospitals themselves that 11% of people who took it were having adverse effects like hemorrhaging, infection, sepsis, or death, it would be pause. Like, it would be like, okay, pause the market instead of saying, let's approve a generic form of it while we look into this, right? It's just an example. And Josh talks about this all the time of how when it comes to abortion, they are not held to the same standard. The science doesn't matter because it's not science rules, it's abortion rules. And that I'm disappointed, to say the least. Like, that's the mild British way of putting it. And this has to be rectified immediately because more women are going to die.
Not very maha, if you ask me.
No, like the opposite of maha.
Not at all, really.
And if you talk to some of the Maha movement, I have not talked directly to RFK Jr., but the Mean siblings and everybody like that, they're with us on the abortion pill because they understand what it does, not only to the women's body, but thanks to Student for Life, we know what it does to the environment as well, as we're flushing these pills,
Right.
as well as the babies into the water. So it is a blow, and it really, to me, and I know it's early, except I think it could really affect President Trump's claim of being the most pro-life president in history.
Absolutely.
Because what he's doing is just opening the market up even more. The first thing NARAL and all the abortion groups put out said, of course they had to do this because it just proves how safe this drug is.
Right. Just like handing them right.
Yep.
They're just handing them ammo. I mean, so yeah, we'll keep you updated
Literally.
On that. Yeah, literally. So yeah, we'll keep you updated on that front, but we move into good news now. It's Friday. Let's bring it up.
Let's
Erika,
bring
what
it
do you
up.
got?
Okay, well, this is like a sad news, but with like really good news. I had this picture come across. Okay, so as everyone knows, Nigeria is the Catholics in Nigeria, Christians in Nigeria, among the most persecuted on earth per capita. It is the front lines of Islamicism. But this picture came across, this video from Agwilonu Eustace Oguchukwu. I'm sorry if I totally
Nailed it.
killed that name. Thank you. But this is a first communion of Catholic children in Nigeria, and they're waiting to receive our Lord. This is how we want to live, right? And yes, we're not expecting Boko Haram to break down our doors, but the beauty and the tweet here that has this, it says, despite intense persecution, an astounding 94% of Nigerian Catholics attend Sunday Mass regularly, ranking the highest in the world. So you have the most persecuted group of Catholics in the world are also the ones who attend Mass the most in the whole world.
Yeah,
and guys,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you be that 94%. You be that 100%. You should be at Mass 100% of the time. And
Africa is going to save the Catholic Church.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd retweet.
I am right there.
Retweet. All right, tinfoil Tom, we got questions for you. I see in your good news. We talked about the Southern Poverty Law Center, something I know you have a very personal experience with, and Kash Patel's FBI cutting all ties to the SPLC. I heard that you worked, it was you, Kelsey, and someone else, Tommy, I think here, actually briefed the FBI on something in regards to this. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
And it was a friendly audience. And as you mentioned, I have a few white whales in DC. Southern Poverty Law Center is certainly towards the top of it, in that they were responsible for guiding the young man who 12 years ago came into my office when I was at FRC with the intent of killing everybody in the building, or at least 50 people, because he came in, his knapsack had 3 things in it. It had 50 rounds of ammunition, 20 Chick-fil-A sandwiches to place in the mouths of those he shot and killed,
Jeez.
and a map of where FRC was that was from the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Oh my gosh.
On their hate map, they gave the exact address where we were. Southern Poverty Law Center, as a result of that case, it was the first domestic terrorism case done in DC, and SPLC was named in that case as being connected to domestic terrorism. But still, year after year, both Republicans and Democrats would use the SPLC either through contract or to give them legitimacy by partnering with them. So we gave this spiel, I think, to a very friendly office at DOJ. I'm sure they probably knew what was going on at ADL at the time. Maybe this was already in the works, but I do think Catholic Vote helped push that over the edge because I think it is a very easy target for us to go after with the Charlie Kirk shooting, because Charlie Kirk, of course,
He was also
well. You referenced
Turning Point.
ADL too. Like they also cut ties with the ADL because they actually had Turning Point on their hate map. I think similar extremist hate map. So they cut ties with both the ADL and the SPLC, which great starts. And I also saw like the founder of Wikipedia was talking about like green listed and blacklisted sources. So if you're from, say, Daily Signal, it can never be used as a source on Wikipedia,
Right.
but they use the
Federalist,
SPLC
right.
and they use ADL. Yeah, the Federalist, Sean Davis was ripping on that. He's been great on all the censorship stuff. But people, I guess people don't, I mean, Tom, you know it personally. Obviously, your life was directly threatened by SPLC, but the influence, the soft influence that the ADL and the SPLC has enjoyed on like law enforcement, especially at the federal level in our country, is kind of almost hard to even summarize. They're used as the definitive source of truth for who is, yeah.
And it's not just there, banking. Banks can say they don't want to work with you because you're on this hate list.
You're on the ADL list, right? Yeah.
And that has happened to a number of organizations. Some organizations, like at FRC, when I was at the Family Research Council, we live on our media hits, or we don't live on them, except that's how we get our message out, is through media hits. We were blackballed by a number of media outlets because we were on this hate list.
Right next to the KKK, right?
Right. And it's just amazing how much influence this group had, and it was so obvious because the Muslim Brotherhood isn't on their list.
Antifa wasn't, I believe.
Antifa isn't.
Well, there's people. There was an attorney that was employed by the Southern Poverty Law Center that took part in a riot in Atlanta.
And
with Antifa. It was just, what are we?
Well, at the same time, they were being sued by former employees for racism and feminism as well. I mean, you cannot.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. It's almost like you can't even make it up. Yeah, same. I mean, same with the ADL. I think they're like saying Christ is King is like anti. You know, I know a lot of Jewish people that actually don't like the ADL because they're very left leaning and they just make life horrible for people that are Jewish, and like, I don't know. It's frustrating. And then I saw people brought up that they have the connection. The FBI and the ADL are in the same building, and I know that there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff out there on it. I think as a first step, I mean, this is
first steps.
This is a great first step, and then also I would like to see that replaced with some alternative sources so that people can actually have a good reference point to who is actually extreme and who isn't. Like I don't think anyone should be in the hate speech business, but it's just been so one-sided for so long as to who holds the keys to whether or not you're as a part of polite society. So are there even alternatives out there right now, Tom, to say SPLC and ADL?
Well, CatholicVote does have its tracker.
We do. We have our tracker.
Tracker. But it's really, I don't know if there are. And SPLC, I think, has been dirty from the beginning. ADL, I'd like to think at the beginning, really had good intentions. And the SPLC faked good intentions by going after KKK. And to do that, but then decided almost immediately to start going after groups that disagree with leftist ideology. ADL, it took them a little longer to get there.
ADL has some pretty sketchy beginnings. I won't get into that fully, but yeah, both are pretty bad.
I know more about SPLC, so that's just a shame, and it is probably just the nature of the game that we might not ever have one that we can fully trust.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to get consumed by either the right or the left.
For sure.
Fact checking.
Okay. Good news. I just had a fun one. I don't know if anyone's a fan of the Red Clay Strays. I actually have heard some of their songs, but I didn't know too much about them personally. I thought this was just a really nice moment here on the Rogan podcast. So here we go.
I think you got to have your mindset correct, man. And for us, it's a God thing. if you are just chasing worldly things, I guess, and worried about me and how I'm getting done wrong or how, he's getting on my nerves, and that's what dictates your decisions, I can see, you're going to walk away from that because people suck and people are always going to fail you at the end of the day. But when you turn it into I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this to fulfill my calling that God's giving me. And then it becomes a selfless thing. He who is greatest among you, let him be your servant, is it just always pops in my head. So it's like, if I want to make this thing work, how can I serve these guys? How, when we'd have to share a hotel room, we would all five of us be like, I'll sleep on the floor. No, you're good. You take the bed. I'll sleep on the floor. We'd have to fight over who gets the floor. You know what I mean? And then once it becomes a selfless thing instead of a selfish thing, you're not, I don't know. And when everybody shares that mindset, we're all worried about one another. I don't really see how you could break up.
Well, that's very unusual, and that sounds fantastic, because that's kind of the opposite of most rock and roll bands. Like most rock and roll bands, it is all about, the lead singer or the lead guitarist and who's the most famous, who gets the most chicks, and who gets the most attention.
Yeah, we don't care about it.
So where did this mindset start with you? How did you guys develop this mindset? Is that how you grew up?
I grew up that way. Yeah, my mother used to read us the Bible as children and stuff, so we always grew up knowing about Jesus and everything. And then, so that's pretty much what led me to make the leap, I guess. You know what I mean? I never had parents that were pushing me to go to college or pushing me to do something. They were just like, have a relationship with God. That's really the only thing that I got pushed by my parents. And so I've always been blessed or cursed with kind of looking at all this as temporary, what's the point in it kind of thing. You can't take any of it with you, and there's nothing new under the sun. It's all chasing wind. What's the point in all this?
Wow. I'm going to go buy their album.
They're really good. They're
all right.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
pumped.
really
I've never
good.
heard of them.
Super unique,
Yeah,
very
neither had I.
artistic. He kind of looks like Elvis a little bit too with the hair, but
Yeah.
I
What's
didn't
their
know
music
that.
like?
It's like it's some people would say it's country, some people would say it's folk. He's got his sound sounds very vintage. I don't know how to describe it. They have a very cool vibe about them. But I just loved hearing and even from the parent perspective too.
Yeah.
I think it's so I almost feel like there's just this ever-present pressure to your kid has to go to the best college, right? Or he's got to be on the best sports team or whatever. And that's what most
Yeah.
people would say their parents push them towards. I mean, what a cool shout out to the mom for just being like, no, I want you to know God. And if you need if anyone needs a projection on, hopefully what I plan to do with my kids is that is the most important. I want them to know their faith. I want them to love their faith.
Amen.
Be good and virtuous people before anything else. That's where the pressure will be. I think there's a lot of ways to do that using sports or education or whatever. But if it's not at service of that, it gets kind of
What's
empty
the
at the
point?
end. So
Right,
yeah,
yeah,
and
what's the point of it all?
He articulated that in a very, I think, sweet way
Yeah.
from personal experience. So I
And
just,
can I just get an
Yeah.
AI of that voice and accent? Because I want it to talk to me all the time. That accent was awesome.
yeah,
Can
yeah.
I bottle it?
Red
Great.
Clay Strays, go check them
All
out.
right, all right. I
I
will.
really enjoy their music. Okay, getting into, I promised this in the intro, here it comes. So we're a little bit late on this, but there was a Gaza peace plan put forth by Trump, and there was 21 points. I tried to summarize as much as I can because we don't have complete time here, but I'll go through the quick, dang, did I not put this in the right place?
And I just want
I
to
don't think I
point
did.
out, yes, this came down on Monday, but the reason we have waited this long is because we're hoping that Hamas would accept it by now, but we're just going to go ahead not knowing what the outcome will be from this plan.
Yeah, and there's going to be updates on this.
Mhm.
So essentially, the first 8 points are to demilitarize Gaza and essentially solve the problem of Hamas. I believe in the plan, it was even offered potential amnesty if people were to step down, passage out. And then the next 12 was about setting up this. Erika described it as the League of Nations. I think my description was more the situation in was it Iraq when we had the joint force there. Neither worked out super great. I have high hopes. My biggest issue with it is that Tony Blair is somehow going to be involved, who I think, by all stretch of the imagination, one of the most corrupt politicians of all time, who's lied to America to get them involved and then continued to cash in going around the Middle East and whitewashing a lot of terrible behavior in the Middle East. So we'll see what happens there. But where else are we? Yeah, Erika, if you continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So like the first 8 points of it are the more predictable, like these are the good things. And the amazing thing about the plan really that stands out is that unlike the earlier plans, this involved the signing on of all major players in the Middle East, including like Syria and Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Egypt got on board, Turkey. Like this was pretty incredible that you had so many people signing on to this. And it included things like the cessation of fighting, release of Israeli hostages, demilitarization, de-radicalization, and reconstruction of Gaza. And after those first sort of eight points, then it got a little weird. Like you were saying, they set up this sort of like, we're going to have this
Trump's going to be like the president of a board that's going to involve all the stakeholders.
Trump will be the president of the board.
Palestinian Authority, and then also Tony Blair is going to chair this board.
Involved, which is why they signed on as well. Basically, it isolated Hamas in a way that Hamas has not been isolated before. They've always been able to run to Qatar or to run to the PLA for assistance or shelter or something. And now they're very isolated, and truly the ball is in their court. The chilling thing about the way that this was rolled out, of course, is that Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump are at the White House, and Netanyahu says, we've agreed to this deal. If Hamas does not take this deal, and if they take it but then they violate it, we will finish the job. And that's when we got this crazy tweet from the Israeli Minister of Defense, Israel Katz. And you just got to read the tweet.
We'll read the tweet.
It's shocking.
So the IDF has completed in recent hours the capture of Netzarim access up to the Gaza coast, effectively dividing Gaza between the north and the south. Right. This tightens the encirclement around Gaza City, and anyone leaving it southward will be required to pass through the IDF's inspection checkpoints. This is the last opportunity for Gaza residents who wish to do so to move south and leave Hamas terrorists isolated in Gaza City itself, facing the IDF's ongoing operations at full force. Those who remain in Gaza will be considered terrorists and terror supporters. The IDF is prepared for all possibilities and is determined to continue on its operations until all hostages are returned and Hamas is disarmed on the path to ending the war. Potential issue with this is that Catholic leaders have said that they can't leave the church in Gaza, that they're taking care of people that are injured, cannot leave themselves. And so
specifically the mission and the missionaries of charity, so the Mother Teresa's sisters who are still there, they've said they won't leave because they're there to serve the poorest of the poor, the people who cannot get out.
Right.
And so basically, the IDF is implicating them as, you will
terrorists or terrorist supporters, which kind of reminds me of like the worst rhetoric of all of this back when the church in Gaza was bombed, the Catholic Church, and there's a lot of people online saying that they're, somehow complicit in terror supporters, even though they were housing all the people that were injured and Christians and still doing mass there. So I think if I were to summarize, and there's even now, so the best advice I would give to try to navigate your way through this is actually go to Israeli media itself. Times of Israel, there's a lot of different options for you. Because even, for example, Benjamin Netanyahu, right after meeting with Trump, he turned around and then gave an address in Arabic. And what he said in Arabic was actually different than what happened in English. So it's hard to parse through it. I think at this point, like any opportunity for peace, I know Pope Leo even praised this. It's just been such a crushing, devastating war. A lot of civilians have been killed. That's really disturbing to me personally. And I think a lot of people are just really at this point, like it's time to wrap it up. There needs to be a final solution. This solution's been put forth. It's up to Hamas to accept this. I know it's been challenging, especially when Qatar was struck in Doha, when the Hamas negotiators were there. Trump actually put a phone to Netanyahu's ear and said, apologize for that, and he did. So Middle Eastern diplomacy, really challenging. But I think hope for this plan, I think a lot of people feel this way. I'm having a hard time, I guess, speaking about this issue in a way that, at least from American, I guess maybe this is what I'd like to say about this is really like any issue about Israel is not about the Jewish people as a whole. So like the Jews, period, typically is thrown around. And sometimes I think on accident, sometimes I think on purpose, but the Jewish people are really divided on Israel currently. as are many non-Jews, as are many Catholics right now. And the last time I brought this up on the show, I had a lot of people really jumping down my throat for my really honest American take on what's going on. And from my perspective, it's really about actions of a foreign government in American interests. And we need to be able to have that kind of honest, sane conversation about it. I'm already preempting all kinds of craziness coming when this plan comes down. So one thing I think is not helping, and I would like to immediately call out, is censorship and dishonesty. So for example, Netanyahu went and had this to say right after the UN speech to American influencers that he gathered. And I'll just roll the clip here.
Christian influencers. Okay. You said, we talked about the woke right, and you said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. The woke Reich, because these people, you know, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane, they're loonies. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay, and you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is followers. TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. Exactly. Very good. And, you know, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. And I could go on other things, but that's not the point right now. We have to fight the fight.
If I could just immediately say, from an American perspective, a foreign leader who is completely dependent on American tax dollars to exist said that anyone who opposes my nation's interest is a Nazi, by referring to them as the woke Reich, is not helpful, especially irresponsible considering you're the leader of Israel. And the only way, from his perspective, is to wage this war on free speech. And TikTok, I thought, was supposed to be the scare was China, right? Like China is going to get your information or whatever. And it's now been transferred in the hands of Larry Ellison, who is becoming a media monopoly overnight. He now owns American interests in there. And quickly we've seen censorship on criticism of the nation of Israel in general. The fact also that we have these influencers are getting paid up to $7,000 per post directly from the budget. Israel's $150 million foreign influence budget, laundered kind of through different organizations, but eventually getting to these influencers who now get assembled here. It does not pass the smell test, and it feels almost exactly like what Democrats did the last cycle, where they're like, well, if we censor COVID and gender stuff and political speech and our political opponents, and we buy influencers to push our methods, that's going to work. And it didn't. And again, I have no issue with Israel, their right as a nation, et cetera. When you do things like try to annex the West Bank or the settler stuff, when we see what's happening in Gaza just online, paying people to come out and front that is pretty gross, especially when there are Americans taking this money. I mean, this is direct foreign influence of another country. So I'm really trying to, as articulately as I can say, I think everyone sees this and everyone knows what's going on, and it's not going to help your cause. If anything, it's going to make it worse, and it's going to contribute to this like decrease in public visibility of Israel. So as an American, I really hope for peace in that region. I don't like when foreign countries are running influence operations just brazenly, outspokenly through other Americans. I think that's kind of gross. And I just would advise probably not to do that. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to make things a lot worse.
Yeah, I think we can separate a couple of threads here that just from the point of view of political expediency, Netanyahu is he's a smart player. I mean, he's survived how many elections where it was like that close and then like a war happens or something and he makes it. Like he is a very shrewd politician, and in the question of expediency, it is important for Israel. They need the American public support, which has been shaken by how the war has played out. And part of that is controlling the narrative. And the two big players right now, especially with the younger generations, are social media. So he's right. That's accurate. It's also true that we spend millions, if not billions, of dollars combating exactly these kinds of tactics from regimes like China. Because as Americans, like you said, Tom, we recognize that we don't want foreign nations basically like dictating to our young people how they are to think about like these interests. And so,
Yeah, inorganically doing so, providing talking points, and it's
right.
Yeah, it's shocking that other people are not frustrated by this as an American. And
Right.
if any
Right.
country
So
did this, I'd be frustrated.
your sympathies can be with Israel. Your sympathies can be with Palestine. They can be with, it's all like this very confusing thing. You can have different takes on this, but where I think we all should be in agreement is that if a foreign government is this tentacled into the influences on American youth and how to think about this, there's something wrong. They should be held to the same standard that we would hold a China.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Tom, sorry, what do you have to say?
This is not an issue I've been following a lot, except I do think it's one we need to tread carefully also when we're talking about possibly, because you think the Ukraine doesn't use American influencers using
Oh,
money that we
Yeah,
send
I
them?
think that's disgusting too.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
think.
bad too.
Think
Yeah,
Russia doesn't.
I think this
So
blanket. Yeah,
if you're going to address it, it needs to be beyond Israel, and it needs to address, because maybe if they use their own money, which in these cases it seems like they're not. When we're talking about free speech, they're allowed to do that. And it goes back to the deeper issue on social media, which is, don't need to get into this, like the parental involvement and should kids be on this, and et cetera. But I mean, I'm the oldest person I think on this podcast. I might be older than the two of you combined.
No.
There's been so many times that we've talked about peace in the Middle East, and it's just gone out of our grasp. And
Yeah.
many people have won Nobel Peace Prizes in my lifetime for solving the Middle East problem.
I was recounting this for Pogo. I'm like,
words.
I watched Bill Clinton be like, peace in it. Yeah, peace in our
Tony
time.
Blair's made a lot of money off of all of this, by the way. I mean, it's just
solving the Middle
frustrating from our perspective.
There's always going to be the grifters and things like that
Yeah.
trying to take advantage. So, and unfortunately, there seems to be more of those nowadays than. Well, no, they're just more exposed nowadays. But.
Yeah, more exposed now, and I think I've been thinking about this a lot, even just talking with a lot of personal friends. Like they just feel an inability to even consume news, honestly, because it's it just feels like there's so many, everything's going on all at once. And then I think back, I'm like, well, imagine if historic events that were really controversial now, like we've looked back on, were broadcasted live and every single person in the country had the opportunity to shoot out their opinion on it. And then you also know that there's money behind the scenes to try to push this and that. I'm like, think back to the JFK assassination. Could you imagine what the country would have been like then if everyone had a cell phone in their pocket and that was live streamed? Like, I feel like we went through a version of that with Charlie Kirk. And frankly, like there's a lot of things that just don't pass the smell tests, like on a lot of different issues. And it's kind of hard. It feels like there's not a really honest way, to discuss it online in a way that feels positive. So I appreciate being able to come on here and talk about it. I just think the Israel issue is not going to go away. The Middle East issue is not going to go away. And until we can find a way to talk about it in like a very deracialized, like sane way of like, we all want peace here. And these countries that are involved in various wars, I think Israel's on like a 7-front war right now. If we can't resolve these in the Middle East, especially as the most powerful nation in the world, I think it speaks more about America and our leaders as to our inability to actually work towards peace there. Like we clearly have the resources, we clearly have the influence, we have the military. If we're just constantly in 30-year wars, I think it says a lot more about us than it does about these other places. So I really hope for the best here. I don't have a great feeling. And
and
I just feel
wanted
kind of
to
discouraged
address-
about all of it.
I just wanted to address something in the chat there from Lori that, from this point of view, Hamas could end this war tomorrow because they have a deal in front of them. Everyone else has signed on. They return the hostages. They go through the steps. They agree to the peace plan, and the war ends. Yes, like objectively from a Western mindset, that's what could happen. The problem being that when we in the West have typically come in with these big deals, with these deals, this one, yes, has a very Trumpian flavor. Previous ones have the League of Nations flavor, and this one does too. That kind of moral calculation isn't the way that moral calculations are made in other parts of the world, right? That is why this feels like such a mess, because we're looking at it's like when we have deals, quote unquote, with China as well. We have completely different approaches to questions of power and statehood and borders and race and religion and how it all plays together. And so it's not as simple as if X, then Y. That's never how this has happened or played out. And that's where the frustration comes, right?
Yeah, I think 9/11 in Iraq are kind of the perfect start to all of this. Is that we thought that at least what was pushed out by the neocons, George Bush, et cetera, was we would sweep through Iraq. They would greet us as liberators. We'd be able to set up liberal democracy there, and it would work. And the people there absolutely despised us and hated it. And if you think about it for a couple seconds, it makes sense. We bombed all their cousins. Like people there were like, probably farming or whatever. And then all of a sudden planes roll through and then they're told, hey, we're actually going to change your entire way of life in your system. And it's going to be way better for you. And then at the same time, there was a lot of cynical interest in terms of oil and things like that. That's why my base philosophy in all of this is the American age of empire is over. It should be over. We should not be we shouldn't be global police. We shouldn't be setting up governments for other people. And it's just unfortunately something we seem addicted to. Like we can't get enough of it. And so it seems frustrating to have this America first policy when Trump has in this term, and this is dividing the base at this point, flipped on Ukraine, seemingly flipped on Israel. And people will say, oh, the Iran 12-day war was like modern miracle of Trump intervention. Like I'm glad it didn't turn out to be a disaster. It absolutely could have. So I think it's hard just personally having these frustrations. And really desiring peace and then getting no way to get through it.
I credit Our Lady of Fatima more than I credit Trump for saving us from World War III. Blessed Mother. It is the month of the Rosary, and the Pope has asked us to pray the Rosary every day for world peace. And because at this point, I'm like, yes, Rosary, that's Lepanto number 2. Let's do it. This is what we need.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Lord sometimes picks odd people to work through and not expected people. And we're just on 2 comments in the chat. One, I know you weren't addressing it to this, Tom, but everything is fake and gay. And
he said it. I love it. That's why we have you on.
Secondly, at least when I'm talking grifters, and I think there are grifters who try to take advantage of the situation. I consider Tony Blair a grifter. Maybe he does care about the situation, but I think he's also looking for.
No, he doesn't.
I consider 23-year-old guys like Henry Sisson who take $7,000 a post just to say whatever because they want them. That's grifting.
Yeah, I saw.
It's what we call war profiteering.
I think
right?
Zelensky's a grifter. But I don't think Jimmy Carter was a grifter when he was trying to solve the problems in the Middle East. I certainly don't think the Pope is a grifter, and I don't think the president is a grifter. I think they are trying to find peace in that area.
Yeah, I think,
and hopefully, I don't want to decide either way. Hopefully, Netanyahu isn't a grifter as well.
Oh, but is the Pope a fan of ICE?
Oh yeah, that'll get into it. Because I think so. There's the ICE controversy. Now we got to get into that because everyone was like, "You got to talk about the ICE." I have to go,
and I need to get this in. Okay,
Erika, get into ICE.
Okay, so this is my Twilight Zone. All right, here's the picture. Here's the ICE. I'm going to have you rewind it in just a second. So what is going on here? Catholic Twitter exploded this week. I think we all have a little bit of Pachamama hangover trauma going on. We watched Pope Leo put his hand awkwardly on this giant blob of ice, fresh water, and bless it, sort of. I mean, he's praying over it, and then he walks back to his seat. And so everyone's like, oh my gosh, he's worshiping water. What's going on? We had people suggesting that this is proof that the Antichrist sits on the throne of Peter. And I'm just here to say, like, I had issues this week, especially with the death penalty, abortion, seeming to equate those. But guys, we can't just let our heads explode every time we are triggered by an image like this. So what was actually going on here?
Yeah.
Like, let's get the facts.
I'd like to know,
This-
because
This was part of an international Catholic conference called Raising Hope for Climate Justice International Conference held at Castel Gandolfo this week. It's going on right now, October 1st through 3rd, and it's the 10th anniversary of our favorite encyclical. I am not being serious, JK, Laudato Si. So this event has been being planned for at least a year by this conference, the Laudato Si movement. So it was first planned during Francis's pontificate as a global gathering on faith and ecology. Some people are going to say, well, he shouldn't have gone. Well, no, Leo's not going to decline this. He's going in the place of Francis to celebrate this encyclical, which we've spoken on many times. And as part of this, there's this little ritual that they had planned out where there's a big block of ice and they're singing a song. It's actually just the Latin St. Francis's prayer. Some people were like, oh my gosh, pagan incantations. No, they were just singing a really bad 1970s version of the prayer of St.
It wasn't
Francis.
Let It Snow from Frozen?
Let it snow. Let it snow. Do you mean let it go?
Or Let It Go?
No, it wasn't. Maybe. But here's my theory. I think the best
what's your theory,
explanation. My theory is that Pope Leo got what we call liturgy bombed. And what that refers to is when a priest gets to a liturgy or a ritual and he's told you're going to be doing X, Y, Z. And then in the middle of it, while you're standing up there, something completely different happens. And if you go back and play this tape again, you can see Leo. Roll the tape again.
All right.
Because watch Leo
Speaking
at
of
the very
conspiracy theories,
beginning.
we're really getting into
No,
it
this
now.
is not a conspiracy theory. This
All right, here we
happens
go.
to priests all the time and bishops too.
Okay,
All right.
here we go.
So here we go.
I
Watch
would now
Leo
like
carefully.
to invite you to stand for the blessing of the waters.
Leo looks around. He's like, wait, what? And the guy's like, okay, go over here and look at the ice. And he starts to walk to the ice. And then he looks back and he's like, wait, really? And he's going to say, so that I think this was a complete surprise to him. He was not prepped for it. And in the moment, he did the gracious thing and blessed the ice. Because we bless water all the time. We bless holy water. We bless animals. We bless everything. We're Catholic.
Science. That was
the
just
pagan.
frozen holy water.
Exactly. He just made frozen holy water.
You're from Chicago. He's probably looking around. Big block of ice. Where's my bourbon?
Yeah. My grappa.
So
Come on, guys.
But okay.
That's my theory. Because no, this happens to priests all the time. So
but
I
on your
had-
theory, sorry, because I know we have very limited time and I want you
I
to
know.
really get to it. I think that there's been an attitude. We're so hurt, I think, by the
Yeah.
last pope and everyone just fighting all the time. And you have to pick
Pacamama
apart
was a
everything he
major
does.
problem.
Totally. And like
major.
thinking about weighing, like, is this actually righteous anger or am I now like so, up in arms all the time that we're just nitpicking everything? Like every conservative commentator was like, you should have been in Nigeria. This is so ridiculous. Climate change is ridiculous. So like, do I have permission now? Do we have permission now to just be like, how do we approach this? And I don't want to get back to where we were with Pope Francis. That was miserable as a Catholic. So like, what's going on here?
This is
how
like,
should we
I
approach
didn't
it?
even want to talk about, because you know what? When there is an issue, like the death penalty is somehow the same as abortion, that kind of confusion, that's a real issue, right? And that is something I place squarely at the feet of Francis for the way that he put it into the catechism and what went down after that. And now we have a lot to clean up from that, right? But we can't overreact to stuff that is not a big issue. So we have to look at it and be like, okay, was it bad optics? Was it just dumb? Was it cringe? 100%. This was just cringe, right? I think we have to do a gut check and say, okay, am I reacting because of what has happened in the past? Am I overreacting? And is this really like some pagan ritual that just came out? So here, I was just bored by it. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's another cringe hangover from the 1980s, green carpeting, felt banners, we're going to like bless bunnies outside of Mass on St. Francis Day.
I think Arnold Schwarzenegger was there, like waving something. Everyone's talking
yeah,
about
Arnold
that.
was in the eye there waving like this. It was just dumb.
Tom, you're smiling.
I did not know Arnold was there.
Yeah, he was there.
He was. He even had a little scraggly beard going on.
Oh,
Very
man.
lumberjack. Very love the earth. Very.
Tom, can you give me some wisdom on this? Like, I do not want to go back to.
I think it's, I don't know if we don't have enough faith anymore, and I think that hurt the last time around. And you gotta, and this is something Peter Wolfgang told me for the last Pope, and I think Peter might have lost it towards the end. Except you gotta trust in the Holy Spirit. That regardless of who sits in the throne of Peter, that doesn't change what we believe and what we think. So, and I'm still hopeful about this Pope. I call it popeful. I think Erika's exactly right. I can remember one time I had to go to a social injustice and peace mass, and I won't say which bishop was overseeing it, except the procession included life-size puppets. And I do know, and the bishop said the mass and did the mass in the regular way, not using any puppets or anything like that. And I do know afterwards the bishop said, "Never again."
Yeah.
That happened, except he went in the moment and allowed it in the moment, except it was just like he understood. So
Yeah.
And that's sometimes the calls our shepherds have to make.
Yeah.
Now if next week Pope Leo does a mass with puppets and Elmo and Big Bird come out, I'm going to be a little concerned.
Yeah, like if it
Don't
becomes a
forget.
pattern, because everyone is pointing out the obvious. It is cringe, and maybe like, do we just have to live with the cringe people basically in the church? You know, they get their cringe corner.
There's
and
no
then
accounting
whatever,
for
or
taste.
you know what I mean? Like, it is
Pope
kind of a
John
tough.
Paul
On this
II used to
note, I have to
breakdancers
go
come to the Vatican.
because I have children calling me, and I love you all. You can all tell me I've gone off the wall and gone unorthodox in the chat.
Yeah,
I'll check back in.
send crusade
You're fake and
emojis.
gay.
Yeah. I'm fake and gay.
All right, Tom. Mine. My last one. I know
Well,
you gotta rock too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So-
Wait, what were you gonna say?
Well, my Twilight Zone, now that Erika's gone, maybe it's easier for me to say it. Because I know the most popular host on the show is Erika,
Right.
and I don't want her to hear it. And she mentioned she was down in DC last week. I grew up in a family of 8 kids. My wife grew up in a family of 7 kids. You put a whole bunch of people in a room for more than 12 hours of that family. We all love each other, but we're going to kill each other.
Yeah.
I got to spend time with all of Erika's kids. One is nicer than the other. And to me, growing up in a similar family, it was so Twilight Zone. And then at a certain time at night, they got together and did the novena. The Catholic vote is pushing right now. So I just got to tell people that I am still trying to find the flaws of Erika Ahern. I have not yet. But
We'll keep
there's a
digging.
reason I think she's the most popular.
Oh man, I remember taking a DC trip with my siblings, and that the same would not have been said about us when we were
Oh no.
probably in college. Honestly, I think I was in college.
Oh, you could get my siblings together now.
Yeah.
And an argument's gonna break out.
Oh yeah, I mean I got 3 brothers. You know how that goes. Like everything just becomes competition or a wrestling match. So it's good times. It's very formative for me. But yeah, shout out Erika. Also, if you want more Erika, we put together another deep for you guys last Thursday. So what to do when the news feels worse than ever. Go check that one out if you want more Loopcast. Sorry, we got to cut it a little bit short today. But we're going to prepare a great show for you on Monday. And our daily prayer, if you want to help us out, CatholicVote.org/champions is where you can do it. And Tom, you're the best. Thanks for taking the time today, man.
Always a pleasure to be on.
Sweet. All right. End in a prayer. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Grant me, O Lord, a mind to know you, a heart to seek you, wisdom to find you, conduct pleasing to you, faithful perseverance in waiting for you, and a hope of finally embracing you. St. Thomas More, St. Fidelis, Our Lady.